All right, man, what is going down?
Well, change of season, Pat. Hence the heavy duty flannel here. We got the Nashville fall happening, which means it'll be 75 and sunny one day, and then it'll be 45 and raining the next day. So
Oh, because you record in your
today's,
garage. There's no
I
heat in there,
do.
right?
Correct. So, well,
Oh,
I'll say this. I do have a little heater and I
okay.
do have a little air conditioning unit, but I'm slow on the draw because I don't know why. I just feel like, oh, maybe it's not quite there yet. And then I'm sitting here freezing to
Right.
death and I'm like, you know what, I should probably bust that out. So I'm looking at it right now behind me, my little studio setup here. I have like one of those hanging ceiling storage things and I can actually see the little
Okay.
space heater looking at me right there. So I should probably pull that down.
You know, I'm up here in Washington State. I got to work out in the garage after this. It's brisk out there, and I walked through it a little bit ago. And I we put a garage heater in. Maybe we didn't wait too long. I think we've been in this house like 7 years. So maybe we put it in a couple years after we got here. So we've had it like 5 years. And I just, I'm not related to this company. This is not a plug. I think the name is actually Dr. Heater, and which is such a great name for a heater, isn't it? and it's mounted to the ceiling. I think it's like we had an electrician wired and it's like 220. And it's great. What a lifesaver. What a game changer. Like before I know I'm going to work out, I'll just go out there like 30 minutes before and click that thing on. When I walk out into the cold, I'm not motivated. And when I walk in there 30 minutes later, I'm like, okay, yeah, we can do this. Like it helps with my compliance a lot.
Yeah, I'm the other way. I feel like more of a cold weather animal. And so I'll put off busting out the heater for way too long. But on the other end of it, when it gets to be 95 degrees and 90% humidity here in the summer, that's the real killer for
Oh,
me.
dude.
My Canadian blood is not prepared
Yeah.
for such things.
Humidity is nasty. I'll give you that. Luckily,
So,
we don't have humidity here, but humidity, like I lived in Virginia for like 11 years. Like it's nasty.
yeah.
But I will say, I click that heater on and I pretty much only keep it on, but almost by the time I'm finished my warm up, the heater's definitely turned off. And then almost regardless of the temperature, by the time it's ready to work out, I open the garage door and let the cold
Yeah.
air in. But the heater just lets me be like, okay, I'm going to go in and actually warm up now.
Like an old man easing into a bath.
Dude. Exactly. Well, as we record this, it is November 13th. And over the weekend, I was just in Scotland for the Rogue Invitational. I just got to give some shout outs. Like I was telling you before we clicked on the camera, man, it was a great event. The travel was nasty, and all that stuff. But once you get there, Scotland was awesome. I met so many people just randomly came up and just gave like praise to the show, really enjoyed it and all that stuff. So if anybody's listening to this as well, it was awesome meeting you in real life. It kind of, when you're always just stuck on your phone or on social media or an internet world or heaven forbid a Reddit world, you can get this warped perspective of what's important or what people are paying attention to. And then you get out with like some real folks and you have some real conversations. You're like, everything's okay in the world. So it was really refreshing just to meet a lot of real people. And one day my sleep schedule will be back on track. But okay, we got a good show for you today. We have a question from a VNR listener. But before we get there, I almost forgot. Thanks everybody. Help support the show. Go to verynotrandom.com. Check out all the cycles that we offer. And I'm going to read them off real quick. Barbell on-ramp, dumbbell on-ramp, body weight on-ramp, 1.5 mile run. First strict pull-up, kipping bar muscle-up, strict muscle-up, push-up, strict ring dip, strict handstand push-up, get your first toes to bar, first 5 foot of handstand walk, and then there's a whole bunch of capacity programs. Clean, jerk, snatch, back squat, deadlift, shoulder press, bench press. So we got you covered. And then for the gym owners, and I met a bunch of those over there as well, you want to do all the stuff that you have to on one platform, billing, gym management, and let your people know that they're getting fit by tracking their workouts. btwb has an all-in-one for that, a little gym management solution. So go to btwb.com for that gym all-in-one solution. Okay, here is the question today. It's from Jeffrey. And Jeffrey says, my schedule leads me to do CrossFit class before a weightlifting class, back to back in the afternoon or evening. My friends tell me that I'm crazy to do it in that order. I also notice that if the CrossFit class has a strength piece, it is done first. Should I try to change my schedule to do the weightlifting class first, or maybe do CrossFit in the morning and the weightlifting class in the evening or afternoon? I'm trying for time efficiency, so I really don't want to have 2 commutes to the gym if I don't need to. Your thoughts on this would be very welcome. P.S. Love the show and have listened to every single episode. So Jeffrey, well played, sir. Even if that's a lie, that's probably why your question got read. So good job. Okay.
I mean, yeah, flattery will get you a long way.
Get you a long way.
I think none of us are immune to that. So yeah. But yeah, this question...
We don't read too many questions that are like, first time listening to the show, thought it sucked.
Yeah, exactly. You guys don't know what you're talking about. However...
Here's a question.
Yeah. I think this question is relatively straightforward, but I do think it's important to kind of give the devil its due and to tease out why somebody might be giving that kind of reaction to his choice to, stay the course and do the strength sessions after his regular CrossFit class. So let's start at the beginning, though. I think that there's nothing wrong with this. And specifically in his case, because he identified at the end what is most important to him, or at least given the information that we have. And that is, hey, time efficiency. This is the way the schedule is laid out. It's important to me to be efficient. I can't be making multiple trips back and forth. Therefore, I'm going to run this schedule where I do a normal CrossFit class and then I do the weightlifting. Bingo. Keep doing it. Right there. It's like, hey, if that fits what you can do and that is the priority, is that you need to be time efficient and still fit it all in, awesome. Keep running with it and don't get too in your head around what I believe people are trying to argue, which is, hey, there could be a way to optimize this so that the effort you put in for your lifting maybe moves the needle just a little bit further in that one specific domain. And so, to say it another way, if at the end of the question he had signed off with something like, my priority is to become as strong as I possibly can. This is something that is a huge goal for me. I really want to make sure that I'm doing this as effectively as I can. Okay, maybe my answer would be a little bit different in that sense. But because that doesn't seem to be the priority, I'm like, hey, let it lie. That's where I'm at with the base level of this one.
Yeah, I have questions about his question, which unfortunately he's not here, so I can't ask him. But one of them would just be, what are your goals? Are you in this CrossFit class followed by a weightlifting class? Is it weightlifting? Is it the sport of weightlifting? So that weightlifting class is an Olympic lifting specific class, or is that also just a lift heavy session where we're lifting weights or whatnot? Is it powerlifting as well? And then which of those two do you have a priority between the general physical preparedness and the lifting side of the house? And then are you a regular human, or are you going down some competitive road or whatnot? And other questions I have that I don't know the answer to is, are you doing both these classes just because you enjoy them? It's just a passion for you, and you're novice or intermediate level at both of them, but darn it, you absolutely love it. Weightlifting puts a huge smile on your face and it's the best hour of your day. Cool. Like all those things I would love to know to give the best answer possible. So some of them I have to just make some assumptions about. I'm going to assume that he's a regular human being, like most of us, and I think what most of our listeners are as well. And then, it's pretty cool if you do have the opportunity with your schedule to go to 2 back-to-back classes, and then even you are even considering the possibility of commuting in the morning as an option and then commuting back in the afternoon. So it sounds like he has a lot of flexibility with his schedule, to which my other question would be, are you employed, sir?
Is this a weekday?
Sorry, couldn't resist the Big Lebowski reference. But cool. So it sounds like you've got a lot of options. You can do what you want. The question is why are you doing that? And if it's just for love, I got nothing for you, brother. You can do the weightlifting before, you can do the weightlifting after. And if you're a regular human being and you're getting decent sleep and you're eating well and you're listening to your body and taking a day off when you need to, I think you're going to be just fine. And which one you prioritize with your best effort being first or second, I think is going to be so minimal in the translation to what's going on with lifts and numbers that I think it's relatively irrelevant, and your priority should be your schedule, your commute, and what makes you happy. So that's my general gist, which is pretty much in line with what you were saying as well. The only thing I would just throw out there, again, making some guesses and some assumptions in case some of the ones I made a second ago are incorrect, which is if you are attending this second session, the second weightlifting session, because you feel that potentially what you're getting in the first hour is not ample or isn't going to be enough to get you fit, fast, and strong, I guess that's possible, but you would have to be doing some silly stuff in that first hour, quite frankly. And I would just say that if it isn't because you're passionate and because you think it's necessary, then I would just say it might be worth taking a step back, looking at what takes place during that CrossFit class, because your CrossFit class shouldn't get you like fit and sweaty and conditioned, and then you get strong in the other class. Like if you're following, CrossFit should be like a strength and conditioning program, not just conditioning and not just strength, but a strength and conditioning program that well thought out, well designed, well intentioned, given 1 hour a day, 5 times a week, should move the needle in your engine work, your body weight work, and your barbell work if done appropriately and properly. And so if that's not happening, I would take a look at that as well, because depending upon your goals and if efficiency of time really is quite a priority, you might be able to achieve your goals with one well-structured hour a day. Just something to throw out there as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. Absolutely, it shouldn't be something that is felt to be necessary. If you're, like you're saying, just a normal trainee with normal goals, yeah, probably not necessary. Now, one of the things that I think both of us kind of alluded to, so I think maybe we should address it straight on, but that is this idea of, yeah, maybe it's not optimal if the goal was, I want to be as strong as possible and I'm going to do supplemental sessions in order to achieve that goal. If that is the lens that you're looking at this kind of problem through, then it does kind of make sense when you're hearing some of these critiques from people around you that say, hey, you're crazy for doing this. And why? Well, let's talk about it kind of on the physiological end of things. If we're looking at attributes like strength and absolute power output, things like that, those are going to be some of the least fatigue resistant skills or physical activities that you can involve yourself in. Said another way, the more the demand is on an intensity that's near your threshold, the more an impact you coming into it being tired is going to have. And that's an important thing to understand when we're talking about things like strength or skill development or whatever else. So if we're thinking about, hey, is this the optimal way for me to get as strong as possible? Maybe not, because of that fact that, you come into that strength session and you're already fatigued. It's going to be difficult to put forward an effort that is close enough to that threshold of intensity to really push the needle forward quite as efficiently as it would if you were rested. And that's, you can contrast that to some other activities. You think about something like a long distance run. You can come into that relatively fatigued, and of course you're going to feel it, and of course it's going to have some degree of an impact, but it'll be less so, and you'll notice it less acutely rather than you would when you have to do something like a clean and jerk or a max height box jump or something like that requires that really high degree of intensity and explosiveness. So that seems to be, I would say, where the people around him are probably kind of thinking in terms of their response to, like, why would you structure it this way? But again, I think a lot of that just really has to do with what is the goal of doing this work. And if it isn't that, hey, I have to be as strong as humanly possible and I have to have a program to optimize around that, then you're probably going to be just fine.
Yeah, and the other thing that, again, if he was here, I could ask him again about that weightlifting class is, are we putting on like AC/DC Thunderstruck and we're like getting after it, or is it a technique class? Because, as he said in his own words, let's say it's it could be potentially detrimental actually to you advancing forward is, let's say it is like a get after it session, you know? And I don't know if it's, again, weightlifting or powerlifting, but let's just say we're lifting heavy. And like he says, every now and then I might go in for the CrossFit class, and that might be the heavy lift plus Metcon. He says there can be a strength piece followed by the Metcon in the CrossFit class. So you go in to the CrossFit class and they're doing, I don't know, a heavy lift followed by some demanding workout, and then you finally pick yourself up off the floor, and then 10 minutes later after you put your gear away, here comes the lifting class, and guess what we're doing today? We're lifting heavy. It's like, well, those two sessions, quite frankly, are probably actually going to put you more in a hole than doing one of them really well and allowing your body to recover would have done. As we've said before in the show, is the heavy lifting is critical, and the exerting yourself and the intensity of the effort and the load and all that, but then where the body gets to adapt is the rest. If you put yourself into that hole and then you hit it again, and this is something that could occur on a regular basis, if that's what it is, and I'm taking some leaps here, then I might not be shocked as to why maybe you aren't happy with some of your goals or strength goals. Then you fall into that trap of thinking, well, I'm working this hard and my lifts aren't quite where they should be. I probably need to do more, right? Like it's an odd human being that says, things aren't going well, my lift numbers aren't where they need to be. I should probably do less and things will go really well. And so I would, again, without knowing, if he was here, to ask him several other questions specifically about what that second one looks like, what does heavy lift plus Metcon look like, because with regards to sliding into your body and smoking your central nervous system, more might not be doing you the favors that it is. Now, if it's a heavy lift plus a Metcon, and then the weightlifting class is lightweight technique work, and we're trying to grease the groove and become really good at these complicated movements, okay, yeah, sure, you can get away with that. It just depends upon what it is, that's all. I'd just go in with your eyes wide open.
Yeah, no, exactly. That whole informed decision-making is the most important thing. So I guess the last thing I wanted to bring up is to kind of offer a counterpoint to some of the people that may be saying, hey, this isn't optimally structured. It's insane to try to do something that's going to fatigue you and then do some lifting. Or you could insert that same argument for, it's crazy to try to do something that's a real conditioning piece and then learn a new skill. It's like, okay, yes, I think generally speaking, a pretty strong case could be made to try to structure those elements first when you're freshest. However, if we're talking pure CrossFit philosophy here, you have to give some consideration to the other side, which is, look, there will be times that you will have to be strong when you are not at your freshest. There are times, and there's a good argument to be made once you get out of the beginner stage of a skill and you're kind of moving into the novice and intermediate phases, that it is good to try to stress a skill when you are a little bit fatigued and you can't bring that same kind of sharpness to it. How good
100%.
can you still be? And so there is a counter argument to always having this structure that must dictate you've got to do these things first. Yeah, generally speaking, it might be a good idea to structure them that way, but you shouldn't let it lock you into only thinking about it in that kind of linear sense, because there's a ton of value to, every once in a while, having to be exposed to a skill that's more difficult given the fatigue that you've already built up. There's something really valuable to that, and that shouldn't be thrown out with the bathwater, so to speak.
Yep, I know, 100%. I dig that. That's all I've got for Jeffrey.
Yeah, same, man. It sounds like, from without knowing more, like you said, Pat, without these follow-up questions that we can't ask him, it does sound like, hey, if efficiency and this is the time you've got to get in there and get it done, that's the priority and you love it and you're enjoying it, hey, keep going. And at the end of the day, as with so many of these other questions that boil down to like, well, what are the results you're getting? And are you unhappy with them? If the answer is, hey, you know what? I'm still making progress and I'm stoked to do it, great, man. Don't let anybody tell you differently. Keep riding that train. And then when that fails to be the answer, maybe you take a look and start adjusting some things. But that should always be the North Star in situations like this, is like, hey, am I happy with the results? Am I excited to do the work? And if the answer to both of those questions is like pretty easy yes, dude, don't let anybody else tell you that you should be doing it differently.
Yeah, the numbers don't lie. That's why it's important to know your data, know your lifts, know your times. And then if things are moving in the right direction, then it'd be really weird if somebody's telling you it's not working. That'd be super strange. So, Jeffrey, we appreciate you, brother. Go to the btwb YouTube channel, find this episode, post your thoughts on this topic, or let us know, do you have ideas for an upcoming show? Do you have some questions? Post it there as well. You can go to the Very Not Random Instagram account. You can post a public question there as well. Or if you want to be a bit more anonymous, just send a direct message on the Very Not Random Instagram account, and those will make their way to us as well. And all of you out there drive the show, so we appreciate you. For Adrian Bosman, I'm Pat Sherwood, and we'll see you next time.